We've completed motorizing the Recon 120, and in this video I'm going to show you guys exactly what I've done from wiring to steering and everything else in between. Also, I'm going to answer some questions you guys had in comments in previous videos, so stay tuned. Welcome back, guys, and like I said in the intro, this is just going to be a final video of our build of motorizing this Wilderness Systems Recon 120. And while this is for my kayak, a lot of this stuff you can use on yours no matter what you have. You may need to switch things up just a little bit, but it should give you a good idea of what you can do with yours if you want to go the route that I went. Like I said in previous videos, I do a lot of research and I take bits and pieces of everything and I kind of put together what I feel would work best for me and what I think would work the best. So let's get into this build. Along the way, I will answer some of the questions that you guys may have had from comments in previous videos during this build, and let's get into it. We're going to start with the wiring first. Now, I used 10 gauge, basically everything. The wires from the motor are 10 gauge, so I just continued on with that theme, and I used 10 gauge marine wire throughout the whole build. So from SAE ports to plugs to everything else. So let's show you what we've done first. You'll notice the head of the trolling motor is removed. Now the trolling motor I am using, you'll see here, is the Newport Vessel's 36-pound thrust trolling motor. I removed the head. Once you remove the head, you have 4 wires inside here. You have black, red, and then white and maybe yellow it is. The only ones you need to be concerned about are the red and black. So I cut the other 2 shorter and I just covered them up with a piece of shrink tubing so that they wouldn't touch, and I'm not worried about that any longer. I have the black and red wires that come outside of this PVC elbow here that we painted black to match the motor. It comes down, runs here, and we wired it into this plug. So with that being said, the trolling motor is done with the wiring part of it. Now back here, I installed the port for the trolling motor. So that'll just plug in there just like that. Now the trolling motor plugs in here and it runs all the way down the side here. And I installed 2 SAE ports there. This side here is for the motor. This side here is for the battery. Now, the battery wiring runs from this port straight behind the seat here into a port here. Now, that's where we make our connection for battery power. So in my kayak crate, you'll see here, for now, I have a 50 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery here, and that plug comes out of my kayak crate. Let's see if we can focus. We take this and we plug that in. So now we have battery power coming into this port, feeding through the kayak right here into this port right here. Now, like I showed you, this port here runs to the motor. So basically, that is it for wiring in the kayak. Very simple. Now, in my underseat storage tray, I have this. This is a PWM, pulse width modulator. Now, you're going to see we have a switch, which is basically just forward and reverse, and then you're going to have your knob that's going to control your speed. Now, that goes from 0 all the way up to 100. Very simple. Inside our PWM, you have 4 wires. They are labeled motor, negative, and positive, power, negative, and positive. So basically all you're going to have to do is match up black from the motor and red from the motor out of this PWM to the motor itself. Very simple. You can't mess that up. Black goes to black, red goes to red. Black is the negative, red is the positive. As far as power goes, again, you have black is negative, red is positive, and that is going to run to your battery. Now the SAE plugs, very simple hookup. This left side was motor. We will plug that in there. And this right side here is battery. We will plug that in here. So now that is complete. So now when we put this switch into forward and we cut on this power, I'm sure you can hear that. You'll see our motor is going. Now, what's awesome about this is we can control that speed right from that dial. Let's keep you guys focused in on that. We will lower the speed. You'll see this barely spins. We speed it up and you'll see we are at full power. So that's just a very quick, easy description of how that's going to work. You're going to have your trolling motor, you're going to have a black and red wire, positive and negative, that's just going to run to the motor part of your PWM, positive and negative. That's it there. And then you're going to have your battery, which is going to run from your battery to your PWM, battery plus and minus, black and red again. So as long as you match them up with black and red to your motor, you're absolutely fine. Now, the PWM is fantastic because you're not wasting any power. That is allowing you to just use the power that you need, and that's it. You're not wasting anything there. You can fine tune your speed, and it's just PWMs are a good way to go. There also are other ways that you can go with electronic speed controls, ESCs. I haven't dove into that yet, but we're going to try the PWM out first. I will say the one thing that I may want to do is I may want to keep that PWM in a separate box, extend the wires for the switch and for accelerating to a separate box. That way I can just keep the smaller box on my lap and keep the PWM kind of in a drier spot, maybe under the seat in my junk drawer, and I'll just use it that way. Let's dive into the rest of this. One other thing I will show you is if for some reason the PWM does burn out for some reason, I made this jumper cable. Now, all I have to do at this point is take this cable, insert it in one side. Let me move that out of the way. And insert the cable into the other side. And you will see as soon as I make this connection that that motor is going to kick on. Now what that's going to do though is that's going to give us full power that we can adjust. So that's just a safety measure just in case, God forbid, we are out on the water and that PWM burns out or it stops working in any way and I want to get back in a hurry. Well, I could always just take that jumper cable and all that's going to do is complete that circuit from battery to motor, and that's just going to be straight power. But at least it's going to get us back with the motor, not having to paddle if we are far away. You need a way to tilt your motor up and down. And this piece here, I feel is just, it should be produced by a company somewhere already. It's not. I will leave the link for this product or this piece in my description so that if you know somebody with a 3D printer, you can actually get it printed yourself. It is just an awesome piece to have. It's almost ingenious. It makes things a lot easier for this build, and that is going to be this piece right here. Now this here is going to be your tilt lock release. So the way this works is this sits right against your tilt lock here, And I have a carabiner here that runs up to the head of the motor. There you go. I have an eye bolt through there with just a clip with a little pulley on it that runs straight down into one of the factory holes here, with a plastic tubing which is run all the way up here. Let's move this PWM for a minute. So what I've done here is, out of this tubing that's installed through Wilderness Systems, thank you Wilderness Systems, made life so much easier, but you have this plastic tubing, and I just ran that piece of paracord straight through. And in one of my previous videos, like I said, I had a piece of PVC pipe with just a hole in it, and I remembered I had a broken weed whacker, so I just got this handle off of there and just put a knot in the end there, and that is that. Now, I purchased on Amazon a cam cleat here that I mounted directly onto the seat block here. For the seat on the kayak, I mounted the cam cleat directly through that and bolted it into there. So now when I pull on the cord here, what's going to happen is it is going to release that tilt lock. You can see that there. We pull the handle, it releases that tilt lock. Now when I pull, it's going to release that lock, and it allows me to pull the motor directly up out of the water. Now, all I have to do is drop this down into that cam cleat, and it's going to lock the motor in the up position. Obviously right now it's not completely locked up. Let's do that real quick. You'll see it's in a locked position here. The handle looks extended, and you will see that the motor is locked in the up position here. When I lift up on this cam cleat, I can allow the motor to tilt back down, which then releases that lock, and now the motor is locked back down in the down position. So what this piece does here is it allows you from up by your seat to release that tilt lock there and be able to tilt your motor up. Very cool piece. So again, we just have from this tilt lock carabiner here, comes up to another carabiner with a small pulley. Now I made this so that if I disconnect this off, I can disconnect this, and I can just remove the trolling motor off the kayak. I can paddle it. I don't need to take a motor with me. So again, we pop that on there. We take this, we clip this back onto this piece here. Of course, easier said than done sometimes with one hand, but that is that. Very simple setup, very easy design. That is complete. Now, as far as steering goes, you're going to see I have this triangle here, the steering triangle, with some more carabiners here, and I have a Spectra cord here that runs from these carabiners again through factory installed tubing. Again, thank you Wilderness Systems. And that plastic tubing runs through the side of the kayak, and it comes out here. Now, as far as steering goes, here is the setup. So the cord comes out of here, and we have these aluminum rails with a gantry plate on it and a motorcycle peg, foldable motorcycle peg. So I open them up here. There you go. And now I have steering. So a little further in depth, this is 2020 aluminum channel. I'll link everything that I've done in here in my description on Amazon, the links for it all. And I just have a metal wire clamp here that I just bolted straight into, let's see if I can get you guys in, straight in through the factory bolt that comes through here, and it is just installed against that, onto that. So on this aluminum channel, you got this gantry plate. Again, I have a previous video that shows you this complete build, but on that gantry plate, we have a motorcycle peg installed on there. The wire comes out of our, or the cord comes out of our factory installed tubing right through this cable clamp here, and it attaches to our gantry plate. Now, what's great about this is you have hands-free steering. So you put your foot on here, you push, you'll see that that side moves. You come, you want to turn the other way, you push on this side, and you'll see that that side moves. So now you'll see we push with our left foot, the motor turns, we push with our right foot, the motor turns the opposite way. There you go. So not a crazy build at all, very easy, very functional, very straightforward. The one thing I will say is when adjusting the slack and the tension in your foot steering, I'll show you how I did that. So the one thing I did to adjust this with the tension properly is I took the motor, I took the directional lock in here, and I locked it so that the motor was directly centered. I slid these pegs all the way back because that's where the motor, when you tilt this motor up, it's going to naturally pull these pegs back. So what I did is I tilted the motor up to the highest position I could get it. I took these pegs, I slid them back as far as I could get them, and I tied this knot. Same as on that side, I also tied that knot. Now, once that was tied, I went to the back. I ended up tying these knots nice and tight. So there's not much play at all in here on these. They're nice and tight, and that is that. So now when I tilt this motor back down, we're gonna obviously, when you wanna steer, we're gonna take this directional lock off, but now you can slide these up into place. Now obviously we can move these back and forth to get your motor turning both left and right. That is it. Very simple setup, guys. Very easy to do. This is going to at least give you hands-free steering and allow you to basically, with one hand, get your speed where you want, and then with your feet, you'll be able to control your steering left and right that way. So again, super simple process. We need power just to get back to the trolling motor. The trolling motor is mounted, and we just need power from the battery into this PWM, out of the PWM, straight back to the motor. Very simple build, very simple process. Like I said, pretty soon we're gonna get this on the water and we're gonna try it out. It's been in the 60s now, 50s at least, here in New Jersey, so we can get on the water. It's starting to warm up. Should be starting to catch some fish soon, but that is my build. So hopefully that answers some questions. If you watch my previous video on foot steering, we go a little more in depth on the build itself about that. And if you watch my video before that, we have the wiring in there. We have mounting the trolling motor bracket, the trolling motor mods that we made to that as well. But again, very simple process, very simple setup, and it should work very well. So that is it for this video. I will link everything I've used in this motor build down in my description. Again, guys, by clicking on those links, it doesn't cost you guys anything. I get a very, very tiny commission off of it, but nothing crazy. It's not going to make me a millionaire, get me to retire from my full-time job. But like I said, it helps the channel, and you know, hopefully it helps you guys too, because you don't have to go searching for the parts. You just click on the link and you have the parts right there for yourself. So only other thing I can ask of you guys is please hit that like, hit that subscribe. We seem to be growing at a more rapid pace now. I thank you guys for that. Oh, I got to give a shout out and props again to KayaknLIFE. I'll tag him in the description as well. He's the one that's got the videos on this foot steering, and I just took his idea and ran with it. He has so many different versions right now of the foot steering build, from if you want to go just freshwater, if you want something that's a little more saltwater, you know, able to be used in saltwater, but he is the man behind that. So check him out. He's got some awesome videos on foot steering. He goes really in depth with it, and he's like the mad scientist. He's constantly changing things around and just trying to make this setup even better. So check out his videos for sure. And that's about it. So like I said, guys, please hit the like, hit the subscribe. Any other questions, feel free to ask, and I will get to them in the comments. But thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.